Hi everybody, my name is Laura Fisk and I'm an Epicure independent consultant. And tonight I'm here to show you how you can put together a quick, healthy meal for your family that they are going to love. So what I am making tonight is our wintry mushroom soup. My husband likes to make a dish with a creamy mushroom soup that has chicken in it that he puts over rice. My son and him love it. They absolutely love it. But it's not as healthy for them. I've got the can of cream of mushroom right here, and it's got 870 milligrams of sodium in it. That's insane. That's a lot of sodium, and especially for my husband who has heart issues. The wintry mushroom soup has 340 milligrams of sodium when it's fully prepared. So that is a huge difference right there. The other difference is if I look at the ingredients in the can, we have things like soybean oil. What else do we have in here? Whey protein, soy protein concentrate, enzyme modified cheese. There's a whole beta carotene, lactic acid. There's a bunch of stuff in here. If I read the ingredients on this, it's got cornstarch to thicken it, inactive nutritional yeast, which is very good for you, mushrooms, fire roasted onions, roasted garlic, organic tamari powder, sea salt, black pepper, herbs, mustard, and hatch chili pepper. Doesn't that sound way better than this plain old can of cream of mushroom soup? I think so. We'll put them to the test tonight. So, very simple to make. What I am going to need is a large pan or a wok. I'm going to use my wok to do this. You're going to need 3.5 cups of milk. I'm using almond milk. Don't tell them. And you're going to need olive oil. So I've got my olive oil. And it does call for 3 cups of sliced mushrooms. Now, I don't happen to have any fresh mushrooms on hand. That's okay. I'm going to use instead a can of mushrooms. There's nothing in this can that isn't good for them. They're basically packed in water and they're low in sodium. So I'm going to use these mushrooms instead. The first step to make this is going to be to take my milk and to take my mix, which, by the way, these come in a 2-pack, I believe. And I'm going to put my mix into my bowl. Smells delicious already. And there's all these lovely, lovely bits of whole seasonings in there. Can you see all that? It looks amazing. I'm going to add my milk to it. And then I'm going to give it a good whisking, get it all mixed together and incorporated. There we go. Doesn't take too long at all, and I'm going to put it aside. Now, if I was just making the soup, I would go ahead and start doing the mushrooms, but I'm also going to make the chicken, so I want to fry up the chicken and the mushrooms together before I add the soup mix in. So I'm going to use a shortcut. It's pre-cooked chicken. I'm going to go ahead. This one is grilled carved chicken breast. So I think it'll add a nice flavor to this soup. And I'm going to go ahead. It's still semi-frozen, which for me, I find, here's a tip for you, I find it easier to cut semi-frozen meat than I do to cut fresh meat. The knife goes through quicker, and because it's a little more solid still, you're not playing around like, when chicken is fresh, sometimes it's hard to get a good grip on it. This way, it's all still semi-solid, but I can easily cut through it and I can dice it up in no time. So I'm going to go ahead and dice all that. go. Separate it out. All right, and now I have my diced chicken. So the next step is going to be to take my wok. I'm going to add some olive oil to it. Calls for about, let's see, it calls for 2 tablespoons of butter or olive oil. I'm using a wok, so I'm not going to use as much. I kind of eyeball it. I probably put maybe a tablespoon in there. The olive oil is still healthy for him, but I prefer not to use more than I really need. So I'm going to turn my stove on. Put it on about medium high and let it heat up for a second, and we'll go ahead and we'll add those ingredients. So my wok is now heated up and it's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken. And I'm going to let the chicken cook a little bit first. It's already pre-cooked, it's just half frozen, so I want to make sure that it thaws out before I add the mushrooms, because the mushrooms will cook pretty quickly, I would say. And the whole goal here is to kind of brown everything. Anytime you brown foods, it's going to add a different flavor to it. It'll caramelize it a little more, and it just adds a richer texture to it. So we'll make sure these are cooking nicely, and I'm going to take my mushrooms and I'm going to go ahead and add those in. So you can really use fresh or canned mushrooms. It's really what you have on hand. And I'm going to let this cook for a little bit, but just so you can see, it's all going to fall out of my wok, but that's what I'm cooking right now. So let that get nice and cooked up, and we'll go on to the next step. All right, so this has been cooking for about 5 minutes, and everything is getting nice and browned up. Chicken is nice and cooked and warmed through. And my mushrooms are starting to turn a little brown, so I think we're ready to move on to the next step. This is what everything looks like so far. And the last step to this is to take our bowl, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but the chunks of seasonings and little mushrooms and spices have all started to absorb the liquid from the milk and plumped right up. So any dehydrated vegetables that were in there, like the peppers or the onions or anything, have plumped right up. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to pour it in. Let's make sure we get all the good stuff. There we go. And I'm going to boil this. I'm going to boil it until it thickens. It takes about 1 to 2 minutes for that to happen. So you do want to keep stirring it because you're using milk. You don't want the milk to burn. So continue to stir it every once in a while. When you see it starting to get to the boiling point, you're definitely going to want to stir it more often. But once it starts boiling, it should take about 2 minutes to thicken up, or you can let it run a little longer if you want it even thicker. This is my finished product. It's nice and thick and creamy. They are going to love this. And my rice is done. I'm just going to carefully remove the tray. And perfectly cooked rice. Look at that. It took 15 minutes, and now I can serve my husband and my son a great meal. How much do you love that? And if they're not quite ready to eat yet, I can just put the cover back on, and it can wait. And look at that, dinner in 20 minutes. That looks amazing. So there you have it. That was a quick, easy meal to make. My boys are gonna love this. They love any kind of creamy chicken dish that they can put over rice. It's one of their favorite meals. But I just made it a lot healthier by using the seasoning mix rather than using a can of cream of mushroom soup. So if you think that this is something that your family would love, please check out my website. There is so many meal solutions out there. Check them out, see what interests you. Contact me, ask me questions. I'm happy to answer them. If you were impressed with how quickly this meal was made, which by the way took less than 20 minutes, you definitely want to take a look at the meal solutions. I hope you found this helpful and informative. I appreciate your time and I hope you have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye.